Hello again, everybody. We're not going to play any music. We're just going to go ahead and get into it because I didn't know that this hearing was happening. Obviously, the president delivered some remarks to the media recently regarding the whole Middle East thing, and I was watching that, and then the House Democrats they were making some remarks to the media, and I was trying to find that to see if I could stream that. And I was looking on the Democrats' website, on the House website, and I couldn't find it. But I did find that there was something else going on the House floor. So we are going to watch that, and I'm not sure if they're even still talking about it. But I rewound the live stream that they have up to the part that they're talking about 5G technologies. And I should have added that link already. Hold on though, because this is my stream, so I can add links for you guys, because it's my stream. So hold on, let me link quickly the bill text that they are talking about. It is HR 3763. Is my microphone on? Yes, it is. Okay. Always got to check that. Okay, so this is to direct the Secretary of State to provide assistance and technological expertise to enhance the representation and leadership of the United States at international standard-setting bodies that set standards for the fifth and future generations mobile telecommunications system and infrastructure, and for other purposes. And it gives information about Huawei and that stuff. So let me go ahead and post that in the chat. Hopefully that will work. And so that's what they're talking about. So let's go ahead and switch over. I meant to be showing you that, and of course I didn't, did I? All right, there we go. And my zoom on the window thing is set up for the stream that I already did today, so I might have to be fiddling with the zoom on it. But this is the bill text. So if you click the link in the chat that I just put, you will get this. Okie dokie. So let's go ahead. If you want to get this yourself, you can go to live.house.gov, and you can see in text what they are doing if you click on the little floor button on the bottom, or they have a watch button so that you can watch stuff live. So let's go ahead and watch this. And by the way, welcome to Grow the Info, and if you haven't subscribed yet, then please.
The House will be in order. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Nevada seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House suspend the rules and pass H.R. 3763, the Promoting United States International Leadership in 5G Act, as amended.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
H.R. 3763, a bill to direct the Secretary of State to provide assistance and technical expertise to enhance the representation and leadership of the United States at international standards-setting bodies that set standards for fifth and future generations mobile telecommunications systems and infrastructure, and for other purposes.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentlewoman from Nevada, Ms. Titus, and the gentleman from Texas, Mr. McCall, each will control 20 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Nevada.
Thank you. I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and include extraneous material on H.R. 3763.
Without objection,
I now yield myself such time as I may consume.
the gentlewoman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, let me start by thanking our ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee, Mr. McCall of Texas, for his hard work on the bills that we're considering. In the years ahead, Mr. Speaker, 5G will revolutionize the way we use technology. From transportation to health care to entertainment, the way people interact with wireless internet devices will change dramatically. As it does, there will be massive economic benefits, but only if we're able to take advantage of them. There will also be risk. As people become more dependent on wireless communications and generate even more data about themselves and how they live their lives, 5G will bring with it substantial national security, cybersecurity, and privacy challenges. Massive networks in the United States and allied countries could become vulnerable to spying eyes and cyber attacks. That's why there is near universal agreement on both sides of the aisle that American leadership will be essential as we transition to 5G technology, both to seize on the opportunities and guard against the risk. We have 4 bills on the floor today that address the future expansion of 5G telecommunications systems across the United States and around the world. These bills will protect American consumers, strengthen our national security and that of our allies, and help make sure the United States is taking all the steps necessary to pave the way for a 5G future that enhances our lives, brings us closer together, and protects against anyone who wants to exploit this technology for harm. The bill before us, the Promoting United States International Leadership in 5G Act, will help chart that path forward. This legislation requires the development of a strategy to promote American leadership at international standard-setting bodies for 5G. It directs our agencies across the government to assess security risk posed by China's engagement in this area, and it increases cooperation between the U.S. and its allies and partners in identifying and countering those risks. It's an important start in what will be a massive undertaking for our government and our private sector. I am pleased to support it, and I reserve the balance of our time.
The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in support of my Promoting United States International Leadership in 5G Act, which I'm pleased to introduce with my good friend, Mr. Cuellar, who is also from the great state of Texas. Texas is home to many leading technology and communication companies and is an innovation hub. Cutting-edge technology like 5G holds the promise to create millions of jobs and add hundreds of billions of dollars to the United States economy. The standards which are set at the international bodies such as the ITU and the 3GPP are critical to the future of 5G. They establish a uniform criterion across devices, markets, and more. For example, the standards are the reason that your USB memory stick fits into any USB port on any device. And for years, these standards were adopted on merit. However, over the last few years, China has been using coercive and underhanded tactics at international bodies to adopt Chinese technology and 5G standards. These efforts unfairly benefit Chinese companies and empower the Communist Party of China. The 2018 report to Congress by the U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission states that, quote, the Chinese government is encouraging its companies to play a greater role in international 5G standard organizations to ensure they set global standards. Such leadership may result in higher revenues and exports from internationally accepted intellectual property and technology and more global influence over future wireless technology and standards development, end of quote. My bill will ensure that the U.S. maintains, and in some cases increases, leadership at the international standard-setting bodies. Specifically, it creates an international working group to provide assistance and technical expertise to enhance our representation and leadership on these bodies. Additionally, my bill will create strategies for increasing engagement with our ally partners and the private sectors. These strategies will help increase the United States leadership in the global race to develop and deploy 5G and future generations of mobile telecommunication systems and infrastructure. And finally, my bill will provide an assessment of Chinese activities at those international bodies. This assessment will help us to ensure that the standard-setting bodies are not unduly influenced to adopt standards that unfairly advantage Communist Party of China connected and supported companies like Huawei. China seeks to control critical industries and infrastructure by making them reliant on Chinese technologies. These Chinese companies are beholden to the laws and regulations in China that demand cooperation with Chinese intelligence services. The free flow of information and security of a country's data cannot be guaranteed using Communist Party of China supplied technology. There are credible reports of China taking advantage of network equipment supplied by its companies for intelligence advantage that date back for almost 2 decades. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, it's imperative that the United States leads at these standard-setting organizations so we are not beholden to Communist Party of China controlled technologies that will severely impact the freedoms and securities that we value here in the United States. And I will say the war on 5G is on. And some would argue in the IC that we are losing that war. And we need to compete with China, and we need to win. And I think this bill will go a long ways towards the United States taking the lead and backing the Communist Chinese Party from its intelligence service data collection. I urge support, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentlewoman from Nevada is recognized.
Thank you. I now ask unanimous consent for Ms. Spanberger to control the remainder of my time.
Without objection. Gentlewoman from Virginia is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I yield 2 minutes to Mr. Cuellar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I also want to thank the Chairwoman for yielding to me and bringing this measure to the floor. Certainly want to thank Chairman Engel also, and I also want to thank my good friend from Texas, Ranking Member Michael McCall, for his leadership on this particular issue and for making this bill a bipartisan bill, which is a very important thing to do nowadays. This bipartisan legislation will enhance the leadership of the United States at the international standard-setting bodies for 5G mobile telecom systems and infrastructure. As we all know, and as it's been mentioned, China is the most active espionage power when it comes to industrial espionage and theft of intellectual property and actions against nations, regimes, and we certainly see this as a threat. Once China's 5G technology has been installed in a country, China owns that nation's data, including personal information of its people. This theft results in unacceptable national security risks and endangers allied information sharing. Market analysis shows that 5G technologies will create, if we do this ourselves here, we'll create up to 3 million new American jobs and add over $500 billion to the country's, to our country's gross domestic product. This bill aims to increase cooperation between the United States and allies and partners in identifying and countering these risks from China. Furthermore, this bill will increase America's global leadership on a 5G technology and provide an alternative to China's dangerous state-run companies, which currently dominate the 5G market. I want to thank the ranking member, Mr. McCall, Chairman Engel, for doing this bipartisan legislation. And again, we got to make sure that our priorities are clear, achievable when it comes to facing this danger. So with that, I would ask all the members to support this legislation. And with that, I yield back the balance of the time, Madam Speaker.
I reserve.
The gentlelady reserves. The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm pleased to yield 3 minutes to my good friend, the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Meadows.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the gentleman for his leadership on this important piece of legislation. I rise in support of it. I can tell you there are a number of comments that are often made about Texas. We see that we've got Mr. McCall, we've got Mr. Cuellar, we've got others behind me from Texas, and one of those is that everything is bigger in Texas. But the more appropriate line here is don't mess with Texas. And this legislation is all about making sure that our national security is put first and foremost at the highest priority to make sure that we're competing internationally. Right now, our Chinese counterparts at Huawei are deploying this kind of technology in countries that we would normally associate as our allies. And so Mr. McCall is right in not only leading on this, this piece of legislation, but to stress the importance of competing now. Now, in part of my district, we're looking for 1G, not 5G. You know, we're just hoping for some kind of cellular service. But I can tell you, the country who builds it first will win on the national security level. They will win because consumers are looking for that next generation of technology as we become more dependent and reliant on our cell phones. Additionally, we have reports that would suggest that some of the people working for Huawei right now actually work for the Chinese government as well. That it is not an independent company. In fact, not only are they working for the Chinese government, but they're also working in cyber for the Chinese government, and we somehow think that this is going to work out well for the United States of America. It is time that we act. It is time that we come together, and I want to applaud the gentlewoman opposite for her willingness to work, and for Chairman Engel and Mr. Cuellar to come together in a bipartisan manner. We need to act. Time is slipping away, and if we don't act, there will be great repercussions, not only for consumers, but for our national security interests. And so it is with that I proudly urge support, and I thank the gentleman for his leadership, and I yield back.
Gentleman from Texas reserves. Gentlelady from Virginia is recognized.
I reserve.
Gentlelady reserves. Gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from the great state of Texas, Mr. Taylor.
Another Texan is recognized.
Another Texan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm honored to rise today in support of a critical piece of legislation, H.R. 3763, the Promoting United States International Leadership in 5G Act. And I want to thank my friend and colleague from the Texas's 10th District. There is no doubt information and technology hold immense power. And it is amazing to be in the same building where the very first Morse code telegram was received so long ago, right here in this building. And as America builds on that legacy of technology, we have an opportunity to help lead the next global revolution, Industry 4.0, an era of artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles, 3D printing, and cloud computing. I'm proud to represent an area, North Texas, that plays an instrumental role in developing 5G, and it's imperative that we establish an environment in which American businesses can thrive. One of the guiding companies forward in North Texas is Ericsson, and their North American corporate headquarters with 3,000 employees is in the 3rd District of Texas. Ericsson is investing in research and development and partnering with other strategic American players to accelerate 5G commercialization. America's leadership begins now, and we can't allow opportunities to shape the international conversation pass us by, which is why this legislation here today is so important. H.R. 3763 will ensure America has a seat at the table when it comes to determining the global telecom standards that this era will operate within. I'm proud to represent a North Texas district with businesses taking an active role in 5G development. I want to again thank my colleague, Mike McCall. Appreciate your leadership on this important issue. Madam Speaker, I yield back.
Gentleman from Texas reserves. Gentlelady from Virginia is recognized.
I reserve.
Gentlelady reserves. Gentleman from Texas recognized.
Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from the Foreign Affairs Committee from Florida, Mr. Yoho.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and Mr. Chairman, thank you. I rise today in support of H.R. 3763, the Promoting United States International Leadership on the 5G Act of 2019. I want to thank my colleague, Ranking Member Mr. McCall, for his work on this piece of important legislation. Chinese state-run companies are investing in the 5th generation or 5G network development and are seeking to dominate the global market in this space. This is an issue because the future of businesses, government services, medical services, consumer services, and much more will rely on 5G network. In fact, by 2035, it's expected that the 5G technologies will create $12.3 trillion in sales activity and support 22 million jobs around the globe. Having having Chinese state-run 5G networks powering our lives puts America and our allies' security at risk and will give China access to the daily data on people around the world. This should alarm all of us and cannot be accepted. Our daily lives rely on networks now more than ever, and the demands for advanced networks will only continue to increase, especially as things that we use every day, even in refrigerators, continue to be modified to need network connection. By full development, 5G should be able to power every network need in life. Further, 5G by design is meant to help power business equipment from things like farm equipments that do not need constant connections but will need 5G data transmitted frequently. This is why it's so essential, and this piece of legislation is so important. And I hope this is a starting point and a point we can jump from, not to just to rely on 5G, but to jump forward and leapfrog to 10G. And I applaud this legislation because it's a great start. Thank you. Now I yield back.
Gentleman from Texas reserves. Gentlelady from Virginia is recognized.
I reserve.
Gentlelady reserves. Gentleman from Texas recognized.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, I'm prepared to close.
Gentleman is recognized.
You know, for decades, China has been infiltrating the United States, espionage, intellectual property theft. I know the issue of today is Iran, but when I asked the Secretary of State what's the greatest threat to the United States long term, it's China. We have to compete with China. And we can say they're a bad actor, but we have to compete. And when it comes to artificial intelligence, to quantum computing, and yes, to 5G, if we can't compete, we lose long term. And the next generation is counting on us to win this race. And when I look at 5G, Madam Speaker, they're moving into, what it looks at you look at the global map, they're moving from 4G to 5G, almost 50% of the globe now. And what happens when the Chinese come into a developing nation and they plant their cheap telecommunications into the ground? They suck all the country's data. They steal all the data, and they do it for a reason, because long term they want to dominate. We have to compete with this. We have to win. This is equivalent to, we had a space race to the moon. This is equivalent now to, it's a digital space race. A digital space race against the Chinese to win against espionage, to win against theft of intellectual property, and to win for the American people. And so I want to thank Ms. Spanberger for working with my office on this important measure. I know she's very involved in the 5G issue, and I applaud that. Being from the intelligence community, she knows how important this is. And it is refreshing to have a bipartisan moment in this chamber. I think that's what most people, Americans, want us to be doing right now. And I look forward to its passage. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentlelady from Virginia is recognized.
I yield myself such time as I may consume for the purpose of closing.
Gentlelady is recognized.
Madam Speaker, a generation ago, very few envisioned the way wireless technology would evolve, the way it would shape our lives and the world around us. And with the advent of 5G, we're preparing to take another massive leap forward, and we need to be ready for it. Even with today's technology, we see risks posed by hostile governments and criminal networks, and those who seek to threaten our security, disrupt our commerce, exploit our personal information. With 5G, those risks are even greater, and we cannot stand on the sidelines while China or any other power determines how this technology will be developed and managed. I am proud to be here today in support of the efforts, the bipartisan efforts that we have made in this body to push up against the threats and the challenges we see. I am proud to join with my colleague, Mr. McCall. I thank him for his leadership on this very important issue. The bills that we are considering today, Mr. McCall's bill in particular, will help ensure that our government is focused on this now as this 5G technology is taking shape. I support this measure. I urge all of my colleagues to do the same, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlelady yields back. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 3763 as amended? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended, the bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Without objection, the title is amended.
Okay, so they just passed that pretty much like nothing. Sorry. So let's go over what the text says for the bill quickly. If any of you don't know, there have been multiple intelligence acts that have been passed regarding the sharing of information with these technologies between different states and different agencies in the government, and also with different countries. This is something that they have been working on for a while. I did a stream that I believe I touched briefly on some of the issues with, like, law enforcement is wanting to get 5G in all of their vehicles and stuff now. I'm not sure which one it was, so you know what, maybe I'll have to do another stream on what they're doing with the 5G stuff. T-Mobile has definitely been ramping up their notices out to investors and stuff, and trying to get interest and trying to make themselves seem as even more so of an authority, I guess, in the 5G area. The what's called merger. My brain has turned off apparently for the rest of the day. So there has been a merger that has been debated between Sprint and T-Mobile to be able to bring America 5G instead of Huawei. So that is something that they have been talking about quite a bit. So when you see discussion about those mergers, that has to do with 5G. And T-Mobile, if you don't know, is owned by Deutsche Telekom, which is a German company. It's a very big company, and of course they don't necessarily have the best ties either. So again, I'll probably go over that in another stream when I can get all of the information pulled up and everything, so I can show you guys, because obviously I like to show you what I'm talking about, not just have you guys just take my word for it. So let's go over quick what they just kind of passed with very few nays. I didn't really hear any. I don't want to say that there weren't any, but I didn't hear any. So they're saying that market analysts estimate that in the United States, 5G technologies could create up to 3 million new jobs and add, 500 million? Really? To the country's gross domestic product. Globally, analysts estimate that 5G technologies could generate, holy crap. So by 2035 though. So I'm not sure. They throw out those numbers and that's a huge amount, and of course they're wanting to make it seem like, oh, look at how we could help our economy. I'm sorry if with the zoom in if you're not seeing it properly. Hold on. Yeah, it's kind of zoomed in a little bit. Well, this is linked in the chat though. The link that is in the chat is what I am reading now. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to mess with the view thing of it. But of course they're going to want to make it seem like it's going to be great for the economy to have 5G everywhere, but we also have to remember that a lot of corporations are switching to autonomous workers and robots because they're cheaper, and they don't need breaks, and they don't go on strike, and you don't have to pay the minimum wage and adjust the minimum wage every year and all this other kind of stuff. So they're wanting to make it seem like it's going to be a lot and that it's going to create a lot of new jobs, but are those jobs even going to stay? I mean, that's a lot. And are these jobs that would be replacing some of the other ones that we're seeing kind of become extinct now? Or would this, but once it's all up, then those people aren't really going to be needed anymore. At least not as many. You'll have to have people doing the upkeep. And okay, so the next passage says China is the most active espionage power when it comes to industrial espionage, theft of intellectual property, and actions against groups or countries that the regime perceives as threatening. Its targets go well beyond the United States and include any country where China has interest and access. Last year, China has ignored agreements between China, the United States, and others not to engage in commercial espionage, and efforts to acquire American, European, and Asian technology have reached an unprecedented level. Remember, you guys, there was that case against the Huawei from Canada, I believe, because, or at least the United States was trying to get her from Canada regarding Huawei and their stealing of secrets. So what our government is worried about is that the data of consumers being stolen too, but I mean at the same time, I don't really hear them complaining. They complain some about Facebook and other stuff, but they're not acting like it's some kind of crazy act of espionage like they're acting about China, even though it's essentially doing the same thing, taking people's information and selling it. It says, a recent report by the Defense Innovation Board lists a number of difficulties facing the deployment of 5G technologies in the United States that concludes the country that owns 5G will own many of these innovations and set the standards for the rest of the world. So this could be why we see them wanting to pass the merger between T-Mobile and Sprint so quickly. Like, if you watch the government hearings, there are very few people that are like, hey, I don't know about this. There are a lot of people that are like, well, hey, I want 5G where I live, so I'm all for this. And it says right there that, I mean, they're admitting that they are motivated by the fact that whatever country does this stuff first is going to be setting the standards. They're going to be owning the stuff for the rest of the world. Which, you know, obviously that's a motivator, but they're against China kind of acting the same way and wanting to set standards themselves. Standards adopted at international bodies such as the International Telecommunication Union, the Third Generation Partnership Project, and the 5G Infrastructure Public-Private Partnership are critical to the global economy and to ensuring that networks and technology can connect globally. So they're all about this. The 2018 report to Congress by the U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission states that international 5G standards will be set by 2019, facilitating large-scale commercial deployment expected by 2020. Facilitating large-scale commercial deployment expected by 2020. Yeah. Well, T-Mobile is sending out emails to investors saying, hey, 5G is on. 5G is the new family standard in America. You know what? You guys? Let me go ahead and pull that up. So let's look at what T-Mobile is saying. Where is it? Ooh, they sent me something new. Okay. T-Mobile 5G, it's on. This was sent on December 2nd. All right, let me pull it into the right view frame thing so that you guys can see it. I'm sorry that this is taking a second. This is one of the things that I wanted to talk about in a stream that I never did. All right, so you can kind of see it. You can see enough of it. Okay. T-Mobile 5G, it's on. America's first nationwide 5G network is here. T-Mobile lights up the first nationwide 5G network. First nationwide prepaid 5G with Metro by T-Mobile and first 5G devices that work nationwide, ushering in a new era of 5G accessibility and affordability in the first step towards 5G for all with new T-Mobile. What's the news? America gets its first nationwide 5G network today. covering more than 200 million people and more than 1 million square miles, marking a critical first step and foundation for the new T-Mobile. 5G on 600 MHz spectrum goes far beyond the limitations of carriers' 5G. With clear 600 MHz spectrum reserved for 5G, T-Mobile is uniquely positioned to deliver 5G that covers more people in more places. Together with Sprint, the new T-Mobile has even bigger plans to supercharge 5G with a broad and deep network for all Americans. Who it's for? Early adopters looking for cost-effective 5G phone that will work indoors and out across the country. Across the country. And remember, they said that this network is specifically for 5G. That means that they have a nationwide, if you have that 5G phone, you have the ability to use it. That means they have the 5G network already in place nationwide. This is what they're saying. Bellevue, Washington. It's on. T-Mobile today lit up the country's first nationwide 5G network covering more than 200 million people and more than 5,000 cities and towns all across the country. Today's launch immediately catapults T-Mobile into the leadership position as the country's biggest 5G network, covering more than 1 million square miles, much of that in rural America. So the Congress people and the representatives are talking about how in rural America they are for 5G because they can't even get 1G and they just want their cell phones to work. Well, apparently T-Mobile has already given you 5G. Today is just the start. If the merger with Sprint closes, the new T-Mobile will be able to build on this foundation to deliver transformational broad and deep 5G for all. They like that broad and deep, don't they? Note 10 Plus 5G are available for pre-order today when this was released. Again, when was this? December 2nd that this was sent to me. And they're still acting like, oh, well, we need to, pass this 5G thing so that it can be built so that we can do this. They've already done it. It's already there. How would it make that many jobs if they already have it built nationwide? 5G is here on a nationwide scale. This is a huge step towards 5G for all, said John Legere, CEO of T-Mobile. I don't know how to say his last name. I'm sorry. While Dumb and Dumber focus on 5G for the wealthy few, launching in just a handful of cities and forcing customers into their most expensive plans to get 5G, we're committed to building broad, deep, nationwide 5G that people and businesses can access at no cost with the new T-Mobile, and today is just the start of that journey. And then it goes on to talk about pretty much all of the numbers that it just gave. Available for everyone. Anyone with a capable device can get 5G from T-Mobile, including businesses and consumers, as well as postpaid and prepaid customers. So what do you think of all those people that have to have the newest, latest iPhone, that have to have the coolest gadget and stuff? I mean, they said that the Note 10 Plus is on pre-order. That was in December. I'm not sure if it's come out yet or not. I don't keep up with the latest gadget that's coming out. I have a Galaxy S4. That is the phone that I have. So the people that have to have the newest, latest gadget, they are definitely going to be all like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get the newest phone. And I wonder, they've probably already been selling phones that have the capability for 5G built in there somewhere. The carriers that have been overhyping 5G for years now, setting expectations beyond what they can deliver. When Verizon says hashtag 5G built right, they must mean sparse, expensive, and limited to outdoors only. Meanwhile at T-Mobile, and okay, so outdoors only. So one thing with 5G is, from my understanding, it's shorter wavelengths, like it's not as far reaching. So when they say that they have it nationwide, that you would be able to pick up 5G if you have a capable device, then nationwide it has been rolled out. That means, again, as I said, that it's not just like they have it sparsely, here and there so that long distance the signal can reach. it has to be, you know, a fairly tight net. So they have published an interactive zoomable 5G map at tmobile.com/5G map, so customers can see exactly where they'll get 5G coverage down to their neighborhoods. And they go on to see more. I haven't even read all this. Free device offers via bill credits with finance agreements. If you cancel your line before receiving all credits, your remaining balance will become due up to $1,299 for Note 10 Plus 5G. So, okay, rebate offers. So they are pushing on people the 5G phones. One thing that is very, very true about Americans is that they like their credit, and they like to be able to have their coolest thing and their new stuff, and they want to you know, pay for it later. Give it to me now, I'll pay for it later. I don't want the old thing that I can afford. I want the new thing, and I'll just pay you a little bit here and there. So, I mean, they're making it seem, oh, so accessible to people, and oh, don't you want to do this, and you know, I am not about credit. I'm not about that debt life, so that just irritates me. See what else they have sent. What was... Okay, well, here's another one. Let's talk about this. T-Mobile selects 30 teams of visionary youth from across the country as 2019 Changemaker Challenge winners. Oh, how nice! They're acknowledging our smart youth that are great at engineering, that have innovative ideas, that haven't been stuck in the box for so long. You know, the people that are up on the tech and that know all this stuff and that know the ways to get around all of the everything. You know, the people whose future is going to be affected most by this, age 13 to 23. They received an amazing 428 entries, a 32% increase over last year's total submissions. So there are more people that are wanting to work with them, more youth that is, you know, like, yeah, I want to work with T-Mobile. And I like technology, so I completely understand how a young person would be all about that. But we have to remember that when you go and you work for a company like this, a big company like this, when you go and you give them your ideas, you are selling the rights to your ideas. And these young people are not going to be aware of that. They have not become jaded and bitter by the world like the rest of us. So they are unaware that when they go and they work for this company, all of the innovation that they have, all of the plans that they make, all of the cool, awesome stuff, their intellectual property now belongs to the company. Let's see what else they've been telling us. This is a new one. T-Mobile adds 7 million customers in 2019, the 6th year in a row with more than 5 million net customers. So there's 1.9 million total net additions, 1.3 million branded postpaid net additions. You can see all the numbers. So T-Mobile is growing. If you get sent their emails to investors, then, you know, they're always doing their SEC filings and all kinds of stuff, and they're very clearly hustling. They're hustling. If you want to know how to get information from T-Mobile yourself, it's fairly easy. All you have to do is go to the T-Mobile website, click on, I think it says investors or business or something, somewhere on the website. Look for a spot that you would go if you had money and you were going to invest in the company. And then on there, they have a spot for you to sign up for the newsletter because they want to, you know, give information to people that they think they have money. But they don't know that you don't, that you're an independent journalist and that, you know, you want to rant about them. So there you go. That's how you get the emails that I just showed you. And just go to the website. You get it straight from them. All right. So that's that. I'm sorry I did not cover the Middle East thing. I am not sure if I will do that today or not. As I said earlier, I have like a thumbnail and some information on it, but it's not like new information. The only thing that is different that I haven't seen other people talking about is that the United States recently reached an open skies agreement with Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is near Tehran and those other countries over there, so I thought that that was interesting, that now they have an open skies agreement, which means that commercially planes can just kind of like come and go as they please. And of course, we had that big deployment, or we were having the big deployment of military people over there. And the, what was it, 3,000, 3,500, something like that, soldiers and servicemen and women that have been sent over there. They were not allowed to take their cell phones or other communications devices, and they were not allowed to tell their family members where they were going. So I'm wondering if they're going there. If you want to be able to get the information on that, the Open Skies Agreement, I saw that on state.gov. You just go to state.gov and you click on the press section and click on press releases. Scroll through there and they have a whole bunch of them. You can also find quotes from Secretary Pompeo and news clips and all kinds of good stuff. So check that out. I'm not sure if I will do the stream on that or not. This is already my second stream today, so I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. I would rather bring you guys good quality information rather than fast information, and all of the stuff that's happening over there, it keeps, you know, it's this side saying this and that side saying that, and it's a lot of the same kind of repetitive stuff over and over again. So that's why I'm not really feeling the need to, like, you know, be like, hey, this is going on. Most of you guys know what's going on. Anyway, there's a lot of other people covering it. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. And my brain stopped working. And subscribe if you haven't yet, and hit the bell notification icon. Select all notifications to be notified whenever we're going live or when we put out a new video or that kind of good stuff. You can follow us on Twitter at GrowTheInfo is our handle, and you can check out our website. Right now we're still at thedayofthegreens.org, but we are going to be switching to Grow the Info soon. So make sure that you are subscribed and following us so that you don't miss any of our great content. And thank you so much for watching, everybody. As always, when you guys watch and when you participate in everything, you are helping spread information, isn't it? And we all need to kind of try to work together and come together so we can try to figure all this out. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And as always, let's go out with some tunes.